What's up, everybody? My name's Big Cam and welcome back to another movie review. And today we are talking about 2026's Project Hail Mary. And just over the weekend I went and saw this movie with my mother and sister and my roommate, and we really loved it. And this film, of course, is directed by Chris Miller and Phil Lord, who I believe many people know them as Lord and Miller, and they seem to have done quite a few projects together, like 21 and 22 Jump Street. They did Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. They did the Lego Movie in 2014, which I think a lot of people love. They're also producers on like the Lego Batman movie, Cocaine Bear, which was hilarious. They're, producers and I believe writers on the Into the Spider-Verse and Across the Spider-Verse, and then the third Spider-Verse movie is what they're currently working on at the current moment. But they also directed, produced, and did they write Project Hail Mary as well? No. So they just directed and produced Project Hail Mary, but they did a damn good job with this. And it's like a 2.5-hour movie, little long, but like my only real critiques of this film, and like literally the only thing bad I can say about it, is that there's a couple of times where like I was like, okay, this is feeling long and slow. But if you're on a space journey millions of miles away by yourself, yeah, that takes a long time. So maybe it was, it felt long because that was what the character was feeling, and they meant, they purposefully made it feel long. And then the other parts where there was multiple parts where there was dead silence, where like the whole theater's silence, and then you can't help but hear people in the audience go, "Oh, wrinkling their popcorn or changing their wrappers or something before noise comes back." And me personally, like, I understand they're in space, and space is completely silent, so like for a space movie there is going to be parts like this where this guy alone, it feels long and it feels quiet, but like that's not necessarily a bad thing, because I think they intentionally did those things. But both of those things were moments in the movie where I was like, okay, this feels slow, this feels way too quiet. Me personally, I don't like pure silence, like I like quiet, but I don't like silence, like pure fucking silence, especially in a movie theater, makes me feel so uncomfortable. And I was just like, oh god, I hope nobody farts. Just everybody hold it, like you can't. But, this is the perfect Ryan Gosling movie because, he's a fish out of water. He's not supposed to be the guy on this journey. So the whole time you're like, so how did he end up on this ship, on this space journey? And then he's on this ship and it's supposed to be him and a pilot and another guy. He wakes up, the other two people are dead. So he's all alone, he's not supposed to be on this journey, and it's up to him to save Earth, and it's a real Hail Mary in football terms of success, it's a long shot. And, Ryan Gosling plays this school teacher, and he does a phenomenal job of like making you believe that he's smart enough to figure this stuff out. He does the sad scenes well enough that you believe those tears, like you believe he's really emotional. But then he does funny so well that you bounce between laughing and crying and having heart, and you feel like, yes, you're doing it, and then you fucking cry for a rock, a faceless rock alien made me cry real ugly tears. Like I was not okay with how ugly I was crying, and I was like literally had my hoodie off and I'm like blowing my face and like wiping my tears with my hoodie, and I was just like like fully sobbing underneath my glasses, because I wear glasses to the movie theaters to see extra nice, but like I got tears underneath, so I'm like picking up the glasses and wiping it. All of a sudden I look over and see my mother just looking at me crying, and I'm just like, bitch, watch the movie, stop looking at me. I kept just putting up my elbow and hitting her one of those, little elbow drop, WWE style. This movie's getting incredible reviews, you know, like it debuted with a high Rotten Tomato score and it's sticking at that score, and then the audience score is even higher, you know, so I think it's, last time I checked, it was like 95% critic score, 98% audience score, so people are really loving this film. And between my mother and sister, they're like decently hard critics, but they're also easily, you know, satisfied, you know, like you can make them a happy audience real quick. My roommate, on the other hand, hates everything. So if he likes a movie, it's very well done. My roommate gave this a 9.2, right? So gave it up in the 9s. My mother gave it a 9 something. My sister said she would almost give it a 10 stars, you know, a 5 out of 5 stars for sure, but probably like a 9.5 for a 10 score. And, you know, she said it's one of the best films she's seen in theaters in a long time, you know, so that's high praise there. And for me, I don't know if it's the best film I've seen in a long time, because I saw movies like Dune Part 2 last year, and I've seen just a lot of movies, so I've seen a lot of good stuff. But I'll tell you for damn sure it's the best movie I've seen of 2026 so far, right? Like, if you're watching this later, as of March 23rd, the Monday after this came out, it is a best movie of 2026 so far. Now, will this movie get Dune Part 2? Because I think Dune Part 2 came out, you know, March of 24, I believe. And either way, by Oscar season the next year, people had forgot all about Dune. But, you know, that you can't necessarily use that as a case anymore, because Sinners also came out early, and then that ended up winning the Oscar as well. Or winning some Oscars, but like, I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know if this will be Oscar-winning material necessarily for Ryan Gosling, or even Best Picture. I think maybe it should be nominated for both of them, but I'm not sure if they'll win, considering we have like The Odyssey and all these other movies coming out later this year. Dune Part 3, Avengers Doomsday, Spider-Man Brand New Day. Like, so this year's gonna have some banger films. Disclosure Day with Steven Spielberg's, you know, newest UFO film. So like, there's some great stuff coming, and this is just like the first big one of the year, and I think it was highly deserving of it to be the biggest opening of the year so far, you know what I mean? And yeah, so like, my only real gripes with it aren't too big, you know? And then like, the voice of Rocky, and like also the puppeteer of Rocky is James Ortiz, and then he had a bunch of other people as well that were helping him. Lionel Boyce was in here playing Carl. I know him from the Bear TV show, and he plays Marcus on the Bear, and he's very funny in that. Sandra Hüller was in here as the like woman in this. Melina Vaintrup, wasn't she the commercial lady for years on like Progressive or something, or like AT&T? Yeah, she was an AT&T commercial lady. Oh, no shit. She was in this movie. I don't remember her being in this movie. Maybe she was one of the 2 pilots or whatever that die and leave Ryan Gosling alone on his spacecraft, you know what I mean? But yeah, so for the most part, it's literally just Ryan Gosling in space and James Ortiz as Rocky, you know, and Rocky is the best, you know, like Rocky hate mark, you know, like certain lines, Rocky tries to give a thumbs up, he goes upside down, you know, like certain things that Rocky said. Bump my fist. Not quite what you say, but I'll do it, you know, like fist my bump, you know. Like Rocky, come on, brother. But yeah, very funny. And then like, by the end of this, I wanted a sequel. I was sitting there by the end of this film like, I want a second movie of this, but like, not as serious, you know, like, I want a second movie where it's literally just Ryan Gosling and Rocky hanging out, you know what I mean? Like, just give us more funniness with Rocky and Gosling, because it's phenomenal. And like, there's one part in the film where like, poor Rocky saves Gosling, and you think something terrible happened to Rocky, and I was so sad. Like, I was like, you didn't just do that to Rocky, I'll fucking hurt you. And then like, I'm thinking about it, I'm like, it's just a fucking rock. Like, why are you so upset? It's not a fucking rock, and he has personality, and his name is Rocky. You know, like, I was so sad, bro. So sad for Rocky. But I'll give my score in 1 second. I just want to read the Letterboxd synopsis for this. Reads, believe in the Hail Mary. Scientist teacher RYLAND Grace, who is Ryan Gosling, wakes up on a spaceship light years from home with no recollection of who he is or how he got there. All of his memory returns eventually, and he begins to uncover his mission, solve the riddle of the mysterious substance causing the sun to die out. And he must call on his scientific knowledge and unorthodox ideas to save everything on Earth from extinction, but an unexpected friend means he may not have to do it alone. So both of these creatures, Rocky was alone and Grace was alone trying to save Earth and Rocky's home planet, and then they both end up having somebody to help each other save the planet, you know, and like, phenomenal stuff, man. Phenomenal stuff. I can't wait to rewatch this, even though I might not, you know, like, because it was 2.5 hours long, and it was a little long for me, but maybe at home I'll rewatch this once it comes out on, you know, streaming or whatnot. But overall for me, I gave this 4.5 out of 5 stars, about a 9 out of 10. If I had to give it a true 10 score, it's probably like a 9.2. Yeah. Up there. Very, very up there for me. Definitely the highest scoring film I've scored in a long time. I can't tell you the last 4.5 star I gave out. You know, where like my first year doing this, I gave out a few 5 stars. The 5 star for me at this point is very, very rare. You know, like I will have to absolutely love a movie and have no notes if it's going to be a 5 star. Like the last 5 star I gave out was Sinners last year, and before that it was Dune Part 2. So 5 stars are hard to come by. For a 4.5 star this early in 2026, this movie's going to be high up on my ranking for a while, you know, and at the current moment it's going to be on my Letterboxd top 4, and it might stay there all year, so I guess we'll find out. But more movies to come in 2026. Comment below what you thought of Project Hail Mary, but also what are you excited for coming forward down the line? Are you excited for Dune Part 3? Are you excited for Spider-Man Brand New Day, The Odyssey, Steven Spielberg's Disclosure Day? What are you most excited for coming down the line for movies? And I hope you guys went and saw Project Hail Mary in theaters and really enjoyed it, and I'd love to hear your thoughts about this movie and everything you thought about it. And if you want to drop those down in the comment section below, or you can send them to me on my other social medias, links for those down in the description below. Once again, my name's Big Cam. Thank you guys so much for joining me for another movie review and talking about Project Hail Mary. And if you guys want to support the channel, the best way of doing that is liking this video, commenting down below, subscribing if you haven't already, and hit that bell so you don't miss future movie reviews and you get the notifications when those come out. Once again, my name's Big Cam, and I will see you gorgeous folks in the next one. Peace.